Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over your October 2020 forecast. This is going to include your precipitation and temperature anomaly forecast, as well as your very exciting overall forecast at the end of the video, which is going to give you a general gist of what you should expect for this October. So let's start right off with your precipitation anomaly forecast, and then we'll go into your temperature anomaly forecast, and then your overall forecast again at the end of the video. This is going from the first day of October to the last day of October. We're going to start off again with your precipitation anomaly forecast. We're expecting above average precipitation, at least slightly above average precipitation over parts of the southeast and southern Tennessee Valley, as well as parts of the Pacific Northwest. If you live within this darker green shade, this is where you should expect moderately above average precipitation for this month over parts of the Carolinas, Georgia, and northern Florida, as well as parts of Oregon and also western Washington there. You guys should expect some moderately above average precipitation. Now, over much of the central United States and much of the western United States, except for the northwest, we're expecting slightly below normal precipitation. Now, this does not include parts of the Ohio Valley and northeast, and that's just because it's going to be very uncertain on whether this pattern of extremely active conditions will be able to weigh out the dry conditions that are expected later on in the month. So that's something that I was trying to balance out. So I'm just going to go with average because I do think it will be near average. If you're not shaded in a color, I do think you will be average for the month. If you're in this kind of a tan shade or a beige, this is where I'm expecting slightly below average conditions, and that would again include parts of the central U.S. and parts of the western United States, except for the northwest. We actually have another shade of below average, and this includes parts of the southern and central Rockies, as well as areas in the western plains. Now, we also have your temperature anomaly forecast. Let's start off with your above average temperatures for the month of October. I am expecting that for parts of the western United States and extreme southern Texas, as well as the southern half of Florida there. That's where I'm expecting slightly above normal temperatures. Here in this orange shade is where I'm expecting moderately above average temperatures, and this includes parts of Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, down through Nevada, Oregon, and much of California there, where I am expecting, again, those moderately above average temperatures. And then I even have a third shade of above average, or well above average temperatures, and this would include parts of California, Nevada, Idaho, and then down through Wyoming and Montana there, where I'm expecting well above average temperatures, and this is where it's going to be extremely above average for your temperatures, and that will kind of be averaged out for the entire month. Now, in this area in blue, for much of the eastern half of the United States, I'm expecting slightly below normal temperatures for the month of October, and this includes anywhere from the Mississippi River and just westward all the way eastward to the Atlantic, where I'm expecting, again, some cooler than normal temperatures, and this is really going to be because of the first half of October, where I expect it to be very cold, and then maybe even getting into maybe the last 5 to 10 days of October, we could get into another very chilly pattern. If you look on my YouTube channel, I've been talking about this over the past few videos, and I've been emphasizing that we will be seeing a cold, chilly period for at least the first half of October, and potentially into the last couple of days of October into the early part of November. Now, I even have a moderately below average region of temperatures, and I'm expecting that for parts of the northeast and also for parts of the mid-Atlantic, the southeast, the Tennessee Valley, and then down through the southern Mississippi River Valley, where I'm expecting, again, moderately below normal temperatures. It's going to be colder over these regions than in that lighter blue, and this is going to be where I think the colder temperatures are really going to persist throughout much of the month, especially around the coastal areas and then down through the southeast. This isn't where it's going to be exactly very cold, but it'll be so persistent throughout much of the month that I think it'll average out to moderately below normal. And then we even have a third shade of below normal, your well below average temperatures, and this includes parts of the Tennessee Valley and then down through parts of the interior southeast, where I'm expecting well above or well below average temperatures, and this is where the cold air is going to be persistent. And not only is it going to be persistent, but it will be very fierce, and I do think it'll be very, very noticeable. And you guys will definitely notice that at least for the first half of October, and maybe going through into the last couple of days of October as well, into the early part of November, we will be in a cold and chilly pattern, and it'll be emphasized very heavily over parts of the interior southeast. Now, let's start talking about your overall forecast for this month, and this is going to give you an overall look at what you should expect for this month. So, we're going to go from west to east here. Now, we're going to start off here in the mountainous western United States. We're expecting mountain snow, and particularly, I think you're going to see a little bit less mountain snow than what is typical for the month of October. It's not going to be a matter of the warmer than normal temperatures that'll be holding back your mountain snow, but rather that I don't think it'll be as active of a pattern throughout the western United States, and I really think that'll be holding back your snowfall totals for the mountains. Now, for parts in Washington and Oregon, we're expecting wet and cool conditions, where I do think it'll be cooler than normal for some periods, especially probably through the middle part of October is when I think it'll be cooler for these regions. If it's not cool, it's going to be wet and warm and muggy for these regions, where I think you're going to get more precipitation than normal, and I think you will see above normal precipitation. Now, let's continue here down further to the south over parts of Idaho, Nevada, and a little bit of Utah and Oregon there, where I'm expecting hot conditions. Now, that does not mean it's going to be hot over these regions. Compared to your normal for this time of year, it will definitely be hot, but this is not going to be as if you were in the middle of summer. It's not going to be as if you're in July or August. Now, you have to take this relative to this time of year. So hot in maybe in the southwest for portions of July and August might be over 100 degrees, but now hot would probably be 80 to 90 degrees, or maybe even a little bit higher. So I do think this is where it's going to be the most above average for the entire United States as a whole, and I do think this is going to be really the heart of the warm air. Now, over parts of the southwest, I'm expecting warm and dry conditions. It will be above average in terms of your temperatures, and I also expect your precipitation to be below normal. Over parts of the desert southwest and the Four Corner states, this is where I'm expecting dry conditions. It's not going to be as above average in terms of your temperatures, but I do think that you will be experiencing some of the driest conditions throughout much of the United States, and this is not going to help with the drought, because portions of Utah, Arizona, Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, all of these regions are experiencing, some regions within those states seeing exceptional drought. So that's the highest level of drought, and that's actually being experienced over parts of Utah and Arizona. So those dry conditions really aren't going to help alleviate that drought. Over parts of basically from the Rockies and eastward until you hit the Central Plains, this is where I'm expecting average conditions, and there's nothing that's going to be too noticeable. It will be a little bit warmer than normal, and also it'll be a little bit drier than normal, but other than that, there's not a lot that's going to be too significant for the month of October, so it'll be fairly close to normal. Back and forth conditions over parts of the south central United States. I think it's going to flip back and forth between cooler than normal temperatures and warmer than normal temperatures, and wetter than normal conditions and drier than normal conditions. So it's going to be all over the place over the south central United States. Over parts of the Missouri River Valley, and then down through parts of the southern and southwestern Great Lakes. This is where I'm expecting cold early in the month, especially, and I think most of this cold air is going to come early in the month. Now, I'm expecting very cold conditions in this dark blue shade for, again, the interior southeast. This is going to be mainly because I do think this is where, when you looked at the temperature anomaly forecast, this is where I was expecting well below normal temperatures, and I do think that will be the case. That is why I put very cold conditions for the interior southeast. Now, tropical potential, definitely we have to keep our eye on this. All the way through November, we have to keep our eye on tropical potential, and who knows, with the way that this hurricane season is going, maybe we have to keep our eye into December and maybe even January with the tropics. So if you live along the southeast coast, definitely just keep an eye on the tropics. If you weren't under this tropical potential region, I would most likely put these areas in a cooler than normal area, because I do think for many of these areas, I do think it'll be colder than normal for the month of October. Now, I'm expecting cool early in the month for parts of the Ohio Valley and Northeast. I am expecting, again, those cooler than normal conditions to occur earlier on in the month. Let's move on here in the here over the northern plains and the northern Great Lakes and through parts of the interior northeast for upstate New York and Pennsylvania. I'm expecting snow possible. So this is not where I think it is likely, but I do think it is definitely possible if you live in this medium shade of blue, especially through the early and middle part of October, and then maybe through the later part of October as well. But in this white shade, this is where I'm fairly certain that throughout the month of October, you will at least see a couple of inches of accumulation in terms of your snowfall. And this is where I'm expecting early snowfall, because even though these areas do expect snowfall to be fairly early compared to the rest of the United States, even they will be experiencing some earlier snow than what they are used to. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.